How to destroy all spiritual attackers. How to become spiritually bulletproof. Stay for this entire video because I'm going to be taking you through some very important steps. First off, answering the question, do you want to be spiritually bulletproof? And then specifically how to become spiritually bulletproof. Question your reality. That means you have to be willing to let go of what you think you know. If you're not willing to let go of what you think you know, you will not expand, you will not grow. You can always come back and reclaim your beliefs if you test them. If you like these videos, please go to the thunderwizard.com YouTube website, which is thunderwizard.com, and subscribe at the levels which will empower you. I guarantee you these will empower you against all spiritual attacks. Let's get into it. All right, so I am Mahadev, the Thunder Wizard, and I'm here to tell you that I am spiritually invulnerable. Does that sound shocking to you? Does that sound magnanimous and egotistical to you? Well, what if I told you that you are spiritually bulletproof also, unless you choose to be otherwise? And I'm going to be showing you how that your essence is spiritually invulnerable. You are bulletproof, which means that whatever you're experiencing, if you are somebody who feels as though you're being attacked, even if you physically have symptoms of some kind of spiritual attack that is happening to you, which I accept happens. I know, I've been there. I'm here to tell you that you have the ability to choose to reverse that. You may not know the specific steps on how to do that. You may not know the mindset, but I can guarantee you that you can achieve this if you want. So, my first question for you is, do you want to be spiritually bulletproof? Do you want that? And I want you to answer that honestly. I mean, sit with yourself. Ask yourself if you're being spiritually attacked. Ask yourself this question. What's wrong with asking questions? You got nothing to lose. They're just questions. Ask yourself this question. What am I gaining from being spiritually attacked? Think about it. Are you gaining anything out of it? Are you gaining sympathy? Are you gaining community? There's no shortage, zero shortage of people all over social media who will talk about how your chakras are being implanted, how you're being implanted etherically, spiritually, how demons are attacking you, how ghosts are attacking you, how you are being forced to reincarnate, and that there are false beings of light who are forcing you to live through this karma earth prison. There's no shortage of people out there telling you that, which means that there's a huge community. So, are you gaining community? Are you gaining, misery loves company? Are you gaining people who are giving you the experience of seeing you and validating your existence, validating your pain? Are you gaining anything? Be ruthlessly honest. If you're not willing to be ruthlessly honest, I can't help you. Stop watching this video now. If you're willing to be honest, I can help you. I can teach you how to be completely spiritually bulletproof. So why am I ranting on and on like this? So I got into some flame wars yesterday on the YouTube channel, which I shouldn't do, but I do sometimes. And I was absolutely shocked at some of the comments that were being put on the channel by people who claim to be following my channel on a regular basis. was absolutely, unbelievably shocked by it. And I'm going to take a look at that now. I'm going to share it with you because, anyway, let me get to it here. So I just saw something else that pissed me off. Anyway, but that was completely unrelated. All right. So here's one. So in one of my most recent videos I put up, I want to be clear. There are beings that you should be afraid of, meaning that they have the potential to be harmful to you in ways that may even appear to be spiritual. I made a video where I went into defining for you the difference between extraterrestrials and aliens. And aliens, the kind that abduct and experiment and implant humans, they exist. And those abductions and that kind of torture, both mental, psychological, and physical, those do happen. But they are done by humans using technology and stagecraft to successfully deceive people into believing that they are being abducted by extraterrestrials. Now, people wanted to argue with me about that. Now, I ended up just deleting one of them because it was obvious somebody was new to the channel and I didn't have time to explain to them whatever. But again, I was shocked at how people want to believe this. So again, take stock on yourself. When I tell you that no extraterrestrial has ever abducted or experimented or harmed a human, but that human beings have successfully deceived other humans into believing that aliens are abducting them when in fact humans are abducting them and experimenting on them. When I tell you that, if your first reaction isn't to go, oh, thank God, I've been so afraid of extraterrestrials and now I know that extraterrestrials aren't going to harm me, but I want to know more about the deception. If that isn't your first response, I have bad news for you. If your first response is to want to double down and argue with me about why aliens do abduct humans and experiment on them, if you want to double down and explain that to me because you saw it on some podcast somewhere, I have bad news for you. It means that you want to be spiritually vulnerable to attack. Because if there is a danger, a perceived danger that you yourself have not experienced, and I come along and I tell you that you can be safe from that, it doesn't mean you have to believe me, but you at least, if your first response isn't to go, oh my God, I want to find out, tell me more. If that isn't your first response, because that is the logical response, it means that you want to be afraid and you want to be vulnerable. So do you want that? Do you want that, or do you want to be spiritually invulnerable? So I talked about this, and I don't think this person completely listened or watched or understood what was said. I was talking about, and I didn't mention the person's name, but it was somebody who was recently on Jeff Mara's podcast. By the way, I was on Jeff Mara's podcast. And this person talked about how he'd been implanted. This is the most famous alien abductee in history, written books, written movies, all over the place. His abduction stories are well known, well documented. And unfortunately, he is not aware that he has been experimented on, MK Ultra. He has been abducted by humans, and he has been deceived into believing that aliens have done it to him. Now, I've known this ever since I've had my own experiences. Again, I tell you that extraterrestrials don't abduct. That's not my opinion. If you think that you're going to battle your opinion, you think this and I think that. I'm not talking from my opinion. I know for a fact because I have extensive spiritual and physical experience with extraterrestrials. If you don't have that, you can't sit there and tell me that you're going to talk about your opinion versus my opinion. If you have experience, that's different. This guy who's been abducted, he has experience, and he can say, from my experience, aliens abduct and experiment. Now, he may not agree with me when I say, I agree that you've been abducted and experimented on, but that's been done by humans who have deceived you. He may have a very hard time accepting that because his experience told him something different. But that's different. But if you're coming to me and you want to fight with me about what aliens do and what extraterrestrials do, and all you have is your opinion based on some podcast you saw, you're a complete waste of my time and my energy. And again, I'm speaking from at least my perception of expertise from experience. And if I tell you from my experience, not my opinion or not somebody else's podcast, if I tell you, I know for a fact extraterrestrials never abduct, they never experiment, and those that do aren't from outside of Earth. If your first response to that isn't, oh, thank God, I want to hear more, I'm still skeptical, but please tell me more. If that isn't your first response, then it means you want to be attacked. And this is very, very common. This is part of the third dimensional experience. The third dimensional experience is defined by fear and self-devaluation. If you want to get beyond that, I'm here to tell you, if you're watching this channel because you want to get to 5D, the first thing you have to do is drop the fear. And if you're not going to do that, if you're going to self-righteously hold on to fear and argue for it, I don't know why you're watching my channel. I don't understand it. Because that's not what I'm not here to give you my opinion. Everything I teach comes from experience. And that means that I can tell you exactly how to achieve what I've achieved. If you want what I have, you got to do what I do. If you're not willing to do that, I can't help you. You can stay and watch the channel all you want, but you won't get anything from it. So let me get into this. So I was talking about this person, and he went on to talk about how he'd been implanted and he was seeing text in his eyeball. And he would communicate with that text. And he said, "Who are you?" And it told him it was his deceased wife. And he was of the opinion that it was coming to him from these aliens who he believed abducted and experimented and implanted him. These were physical implants, by the way. This is what the guy who responded wasn't getting. Again, pay attention to what I say. Please listen. This guy was physically implanted. It wasn't etheric. It wasn't spiritual. And he then went on to say it helped him write his next book. And I went on to talk about how he had been implanted with AI, who was programming his brain. And I went on to talk about the dangers of that. Now, let's be clear. That was a physical abduction, a physical experimentation, a physical implant. It wasn't spiritual. But this person didn't get that. He's conflated the two. And he says, how can you defend yourself against etheric implants? And I said, there's no such thing. And then another person who's been on the channel, you know who you are. Been on my channel for years. I've seen you on my channel for years. And I have confronted you on your fear, on your need to be afraid, and to share with you how that is incongruent with the purpose of this channel, which is to get you completely, totally out of fear and to give you power, which means that you want to be afraid. This person went on to say, oh, it's this, and it happens this way, and they do exist. I've had them. Now, let me stop here for a second. If you have had an experience of being physically attacked, Strike that. If you have had the experience of being spiritually attacked, you have had physical symptoms of it. So have I. I used to be an exorcist many years ago. I became an exorcist because I experienced what I believed to be spiritual demonic attacks. So I have experience of it as well. So just because you've experienced it, does that mean you know what that experience was? This guy who's been abducted by fake aliens and been physically experimented on, been physically implanted, and been physically and psychologically MK Ultra'd his whole life. His experience, he has a physical experience that aliens did it to him, but does that mean that that's what happened? So just because you had an experience, does that make it true? And here, let me go further. You've been physically experienced that you've had spiritual attacks. I'm here telling you, you can be completely, totally free of that, and you can be bulletproof. If your first response isn't, Mahadeva, I'm interested, please tell me how, and your first response is to argue with me and tell me that you can be spiritually hurt, that is illogical. Because if what you truly wanted was to be spiritually invulnerable, and I tell you, I have the experience, and I not only have the experience, I know exactly what you can do to achieve what I've achieved. If your first response isn't, please tell me how to do that, the only other possibility is that that is what you want. So let me go back and ask you the question. Do you want to be spiritually bulletproof? If you do, keep watching. If you don't, if you gain something, there's an unconscious need we have to be connected to our parents and our, people we were surrounded by. If you were abused, by the way, this person who stays on my channel, you know who you are, who stays on my channel, who's been on my channel for years, who probably hasn't done any of the practices that I've taught. I don't know if you have, but I assume you haven't. You only watch the videos. You continuously need to comment about how you've been etherically implanted by who knows what. Even though you know that I've confronted you on that. Even though you know that I teach on my channel how to be prevented from that. I don't know anything about you, but I already know that you went through an abusive childhood. At the very least, it was dysfunctional. So one of the main reasons people need to feel spiritually vulnerable is because it's a deeply unconscious programming. Because when you were a child, your parents said, not verbally, but energetically, maybe even verbally, but definitely energetically, they gave you the message. If you want me to love you, you're going to have to let me violate your boundaries, whether that's physical, emotional, or psychological. And so in order for you to keep the connection to your unconscious infant with your parental figures, even if they're dead, you need to believe that you are vulnerable to attack, because if you become invulnerable, guess what? Your parents won't love you anymore. That goes through with that goes also the same for the state. Why are there people that need to believe that the government is out to help them? Why are there people that need to believe you need 3 or 4 of these, even though it's been proven by experience that they don't work, that they're harmful? Why do people need to believe the narrative? Because without knowing anything, I already know that you unconsciously want to be loved and accepted by what you perceive to be your parent group. 1984 was a great book. Big Brother, your older sibling, your family members. If you need, like if you're fighting with me and you need to believe that you're spiritually vulnerable to attack and you want to fight with me about it, I already know that you went through some kind of dysfunction, if not outright abuse, as a child, and you need to relive it. So this person says, one of them says, after I talk about this guy being implanted and being, implanted with AI and letting that AI control his thinking in his brain, writing books for him, this person says, how can you defend yourself against etheric implants? And I wasn't talking about etheric, I was talking about physical. And I say there's no such thing. Then this other person comes in and starts describing. They're called J-seals, usually one over the third eye. They absolutely exist. I responded to that person directly and I said, how long have you been watching my channel? And I still haven't been able to inspire you to drop the fear. It makes me wonder why you keep watching. I'm glad that you do, but I don't get it. And I don't. Because there is no way I am going to co-sign anybody's invulnerability. And I have gotten to the point where I have no space in me left to co-sign people's self-sabotage. If I see you self-sabotaging yourself, I can tell you, I'm getting to the point where I don't have any empathy left in me for you. I can't help you, especially if you're not following instructions. I assume you come to me because you think I have something to share with you, and if I give you suggestions, you don't listen to it. I've lost all, there's nothing left for me to do, and I don't know why you're here. Maybe you'll get it. Maybe if you hang around long enough, maybe you'll get it. So we're going to get into that. I know I'm ranting, but it's because I care. I'm ranting because I care, and I'm frustrated. I got to tell you, I'm frustrated just in general at what's happening in life. I'm watching what's happening in California. I'm watching what's happening, near where I grew up and in places that I lived. Los Angeles is on fire. I've been telling people who live there who've been telling me about, the chemtrails that have been, if you know what are chemtrails, where you wake up in the morning and there's a plane going this way and there's something behind it, and then he starts going this way, and then within a few hours there's this haze and you can feel it. These firefighters are not going to be able to, that's why firefighters can't put out the fires. Listen, I'm not living there now, but I lived in California for 50 years. And, California has wildfires at this time. And there's never been anything like what I've seen. Never. And it's because the metals and the other chemicals that are being put on the ground, they're being put there specifically to make the place vulnerable to fire and fires that you cannot put out. And I saw this coming. I'm sad for it. It doesn't make me happy that I was right. But when I heard about all of the chemtrails and stuff that was going on in Southern California, I've been saying, people, get out. This is why. So I'm frustrated about that. I'm frustrated that, we're doing these meditations twice a week. So much so that they're wiping me out. They're destroying me. I can barely function for 2 days afterwards. And, it seems like we've made such little progress. There has been progress, but it frustrates me. It frustrates me on my channel, the people I work with. And I can't reach them. But what frustrates me the most is when people choose to sabotage their growth. That is something that's just, especially people who supposedly want to follow my advice. So this person has been on the channel for who knows how long and wants to co-sign other people's victimhood. And the first question isn't, I've had this experience, how can I overcome it? They don't want to hear that from me. So the original person who said, was asking about etheric implants, and I said there's no such thing as etheric implants. That doesn't mean that there aren't people out there who don't believe that they've been etherically implanted. It just means that their What they think is happening isn't what's happening. And so this person says they got physical symptoms, blah, blah, blah. And I say a lot of people say a lot of things. Does that mean that everyone is right? If you want to get the most out of this channel, do more than watch a few videos and comment. I answered your question and I gave you direct steps on how to research it. And what I said was, go watch my videos on demon possession. And he said, it isn't about demons. Now, here's how to deal with a teacher. If you see me as a teacher, here's how you deal with a teacher. When a teacher gives you a suggestion, do it. Don't argue with them. You argue with me, it tells me, it frustrates the hell out of me, but it makes it impossible for me to help you. And I ended up saying, I said, you must be new to the channel. He says, no, I've been watching the channel for a long time. And that makes it even worse because you've been watching my channel for a long time and you haven't watched the videos about how to protect yourself against demon attacks, how and why it's impossible to be etherically implanted. How is it you don't know that? I've ranted like I am now for years and you haven't heard me? So you're just, I don't know, it's very frustrating. Anyway, let's keep going. I'm going to keep ranting. I'm ranting for a lot of other reasons as well, but let's keep going here. So, do you want to be spiritually bulletproof? God is invulnerable to all spiritual attacks. Would we agree? Whatever you want to call God. I don't believe in a bearded guy who stands up there and tells you what to do. My experience, this isn't my belief, I didn't read it in a book somewhere. Turns out it's identical to some spiritual texts. This is my personal experience. I've been out there, I've traveled, talked to many of the deities, and I've been taken directly to the source. And the source is the source of all consciousness. And I found that that source of consciousness is us. If you're sitting there, what you're looking at here is is the final end of a physical experience. And if you follow my soul all the way back to the source, you're going to get to this thing that people call God, the source, spirit. You are there as well. You follow yourself all the way back, you're going to find God. Do you believe that that source is vulnerable to spiritual attack? If you believe in God, do you believe that the devil can harm God? Of course not. So you have to start with that understanding. If you don't have that assumption, you have a different assumption, which is what it really comes down to. People would rather hold on to the assumption that they're limited and vulnerable to attack. And why? Because they want their abusive mother and dad's love, or they want their abusive government, or they want the love of their community. They want somebody else to love and approve of them. That's the only way that you will want to believe that you are spiritually vulnerable to attack. Even if I accept the idea, because I know for a fact that demons exist, and I know for a fact that people can be demonically possessed and harmed, but that doesn't mean that they are vulnerable to that, unless something else. So what is it that makes them vulnerable? So your soul is God. You are invulnerable to attack. That doesn't mean that you haven't felt attacked or experienced attack. And then you have to ask, so if I'm invulnerable, how did this happen? If you're not in line with this thinking, stop wasting your time, stop watching the video, go somewhere else. You want my help? Here's how you do it. Start with your assumption. You're God. God is invulnerable to spiritual attack. The next question is how? If I'm God, how did I get attacked? All right, you with me? So all humans are God choosing to incarnate in 3D illusion. If God is being spiritually attacked, it is because he chooses it. Are you consciously choosing to be vulnerable or bulletproof? Now let's talk about your conscious. Are you sitting here right now consciously thinking to yourself that you want to be spiritually attacked? I'm pretty sure everybody would say no. right? That everybody would say no if I asked them, do you consciously want that? Nobody consciously wants that. Unless they're, really sick. They would say, no, I don't. Good. So let's accept then something else must be going on. Let's see, where was I? If God is being spiritually attacked, it is because he chooses it. Are you consciously choosing to be vulnerable or bulletproof? If you are being spiritually attacked and you are not consciously choosing it, you are unconsciously choosing it. Stop right there. I've already addressed that consciously, you don't consciously want this. What is unconscious? Unconscious means you're completely unaware of it. So don't argue with me about, but I'm not trying to do it. I know you're not. That's what conscious means. I'm not consciously trying to do it. Unconsciously means you don't know that you're doing it. You have an unconscious mind. The part of you that you are not aware of, the part of your mind you are not aware of, that is God. That is the 3D God. That is what creates everything in your reality. Not your conscious reality, your unconscious mind creates everything. So if you are God, God is invulnerable to attack. God chooses to be here. And if God is being attacked, it means God is choosing it. Is God consciously doing it? You say, no, I'm not consciously choosing to be attacked, and it's happening on an unconscious level. Just accept that. Don't fight with me about it. If you fight with me about it, it means that you are defending it, which means that you want it. Do you want to be miserable? Do you want to be attacked? Just own it. I'll shake your hand and I'll say, well, at least you're honest about it. And then I would recommend you go and listen to other people whine and complain about how they're being trapped in a horrible matrix of reincarnation and that aliens are implanting them. I mean, go ahead. There's plenty of people out there. I'm in the minority. Plenty of people that will co-sign you, that will hug you, will kiss you, and will tell you that, you're right and you want that? Go find it. You want to know the truth? You want to become bulletproof? I've done it. You want what I have? You got to do what I do. I'm telling you how I do it. I accept that I have an unconscious mind that I'm not aware of. And if there's things in my life that I don't like, if I have physical symptoms, physical pains, if I have people in my life, if I have non-physical beings in my life, it's because I've chosen them, whether I'm aware of it or not. You want what I have? That's what I do. I'm telling you, everything I'm telling you about yourself, I have said about myself. You want to feel attacked? Go right ahead. I can't help you. It means that I'm saying I can't spot it if I don't have it. If you are being spiritually attacked and you are not consciously choosing it, you are unconsciously choosing it. So the question is, how can we choose to live our God-natured invulnerability? Are you with me on that question? All right, so I accept that I'm having experiences. I accept that other people are having experiences. They're having physical symptoms. I accept that. And I accept that that is incongruous with the truth. That person is God. God cannot be spiritually attacked. If God is spiritually attacked, it means he's choosing it. So that means that person over there who says, I've been abducted by aliens and I've been implanted, or I've been etherically implanted by evil beings or vampires or ghosts or demons, or I don't care what word you want to use, false beings of light, and I have physical symptoms to prove it. I know, I used to do demon exorcisms. I've seen people transform into demons. I know that I've seen people lift up off the ground, and I haven't seen all of that, but I've seen a lot of stuff. So I know that people have physical experiences. That isn't proof that what you think it is what it is. It means that something's going on. So either you are a tiny, vulnerable being that other beings can harm, or you are an invulnerable God that cannot be touched or harmed unless you choose it. So the question is, why would God choose that? And as God, if you've decided, I don't want that anymore, then the only question that is worth asking is, how do I, as God, change my experience and my reality? If you ask that question, I can help you. If you're not willing to ask that question, I can't help you. So, you still with me? Or are you going to, if you don't want to answer that question, stop watching this video. Still here? Let's keep going. So what was the last question I said? How can we choose to live our God-natured invulnerability? How to become spiritually bulletproof? Accept the physical, psychological experience. So this person here wants to say, but she's being etherically attacked. How do I know that? Because she has physical symptoms. So therefore it must be true. The other person, the person whose comment I deleted said, nuh-uh, I saw it on Jeff Morrow's podcast, and they said they were abducted by aliens. And I said, I was on Jeff Morrow's podcast, and I say the opposite. So what does that mean? You believe everything anybody tells you? No, it means you want to believe that. You're looking for evidence to support what you choose to believe, which is you want to be attacked, maybe not consciously, but unconsciously. It's a normal human 3D thing. That's why shifting to 5D means doing the opposite of what you perceive to be normal. Because we will no longer be able to fit into the third dimension if we become invulnerable. So if you want to stay vulnerable, you can stay in 3D if you want. Where was I? Accept the physical, psychological experience, that you have that experience. Choose to believe that your soul is God. Right now. Just choose to believe that. Doesn't mean that you feel it. There's a difference between feeling and believing. Just choose to accept that assumption. I haven't manifested it yet, but I accept that I am God. Just accept it as a possibility, even though you feel completely vulnerable and afraid. I'm not trying to get you to get rid of your feelings. People ask me all the time, how do I get over my fear? And I say, when did I ever say you were supposed to get over your fear? And I cite my ancestors who say, those who die in those who die in battle go to Valhalla. Battle means death. Those who are willing to die to get what they want go to Valhalla. It doesn't say those who overcome all of their negative feelings and over all their fears. It doesn't say that. It doesn't even say those who are brave. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say those who are frightened never go into battle. It doesn't say that. It says those who die in battle go to Valhalla. It means they take the action even though they're afraid. So stop worrying about your feelings. This is the lie you've been told for the past 2,000 years. The lie you've been told is that you have to overcome all of your feelings. This is the lie of neo-spirituality, New Age spirituality. I've achieved, I'm free of all tension and all. That's nonsense. Enlightenment, I can tell you, enlightenment has nothing to do with that. Nothing. Has nothing to do with how you're feeling. Your feelings in the third dimension are a dimensional experience. You won't be able to get rid of it. Maybe you can make some progress, and I hope that you do. You might even make more progress than I had made. As you can tell, I'm frustrated. I'm having a 3D experience. Negative feelings are part of the third dimensional experience. You can't get rid of it. You don't have any control over that, or you have very little control over that. You do have control over what you do. And until you get over the idea that I have to feel brave before I can act brave, until that happens, you're never going to make any progress. So just go ahead and take the actions, even though you're peeing your pants while you do it. So choose to believe that your soul is God. Accept that you chose to be here. That means everything you're experiencing. You're being attacked etherically, you chose it. You didn't consciously do it. You don't understand why you would do that to yourself, but has to be what happened. It has to be. Because otherwise, how did it happen? Then you have a question. Why would I do this to myself? That's a good question to ask. Except that you chose to be here. Stop listening to people who are choosing to be attacked. Stop going on to podcasts where people tell you how you're going to be abducted and implanted. And stop listening to people on social media telling you how etheric beings are going to do this to you. Stop listening to people who whine and complain because I have physical. I used to cast demons out of people. I saw them turn into demons. It doesn't change the fact that they allowed the demons in them. I was attacked as a kid, spiritually. It doesn't change the fact that I invited it on an unconscious level. Now, figuring out why you did that, that's something you do in your meditations or with your mentor or your guide or your sponsor or whomever. But the truth is the truth. And here's the good news. You don't have to know why. You just have to act contrary to that. That's what all of the stuff I teach on here is about. It is good to have a mentor. I mean, it's amazing to me that more people aren't working with me. So many people on the channel, and how many people are working with me? I can count on one hand. Why? Why are there not more people who aren't working with me as an apprentice? You're looking at somebody who can teach you to have what I have if you're willing to follow my directions. I can guarantee you that. Every single person who has followed all of my directions has achieved amazing growth. People that don't follow my directions, I can't vouch for that. So stop listening to people who are choosing to be attacked. Accept that while fear is normal, it is only a feeling. Bravery is not a feeling, it is an action. Take direct action and act as a bulletproof God. You don't know how to do that? That's what I'm here for. Let's get together and I can give you, if I know your circumstances, I can give you specific directions for you. Until then, that's what the 90-day challenge is. That's what the Awakening the Immortals is. That's what the Maoshan 5 elements are. Those are actions that will help. That they don't necessarily give you the mindset. That's what I'm here to do. That's what teachers do. Yeah. So seek out people who are powerful and fearless. In other words, if you're looking online, and I don't know why people do this, I guess, but if you're looking on YouTube and you're looking on X and TikTok and whatever, for people to learn something from, learn from people who are powerful and fearless. If you get onto somebody's channel and they're going to tell you that false beings of light are out to get you and that demons are going to, and their etheric aliens are going to implant you, and there are, beings that want to implant your chakras and your, if you want to listen to that, go ahead. But if you want to be invulnerable, stop listening to them. Stop watching that. It's fear porn. Does nothing for you. Next one is to seek out people who are powerful and fearless. I obviously put myself in that category. I'm not fearless in the sense that I have no fear. I have fears. I have fears, the same fears everybody else has. But I know how to at least act contrary to those fears much of the time. And I can tell you that spiritually, I am bulletproof. You noticed I'm not saying I'm physically bulletproof. I'm not. I live in the third dimension with other third dimensional human beings. And, things can happen on that realm. That's something that I have to take conscious effort in and take responsibility for, and take the actions to make sure that I have everything that I need and want in this life. But spiritually, nothing can touch me. Nothing. I'm not afraid of any non-physical being. If you want that, I can teach you how to do that, but it means you have to listen to what I say and follow my suggestions. So those of you that are on my channel and you're watching other people's channels who tell you that you're a victim, it seems like not a very good strategy for what you're looking for. Seek out people who are powerful and fearless. Follow directions, suggestion from those who are bulletproof. All right? So there's my rant for today. Yeah. What's happening in California was orchestrated. And it's just the beginning. If we don't wake up, there are things you should be afraid of. The human beings, the false, dark force human beings that are in control of this world, you should be very afraid of what they want to accomplish. It doesn't mean that you can't be safe. You can. But if you want to be afraid, stop being afraid of spiritual beings doing things to you. If you're God, you're bulletproof. In the third dimension, the only thing that we need to be worried about is the dark force humans. Take that fear and focus on where it belongs, especially when I tell you from personal experience, extraterrestrials will not, cannot, do not harm humans ever, under any circumstances. Human beings are pretending to be extraterrestrials, and they are harming people. Take that fear and put it where it belongs. The fact that you want to believe in spiritual beings do it to you, it means that you are letting yourself become vulnerable to human manipulation and attack. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about all this AI stuff. Another person on here wants to talk about why he's not that afraid of AI. And then he goes on to say that AI is his second mind. You have an attachment. The biggest fear that I have right now is that human beings, out of their unconscious codependence, will misunderstand their experiences. They will conflate their feelings of victimization, which are real, having to do with human beings, and they will conflate them and put them onto something spiritual, which is what is happening right now. All of the drones and the orbs, that is to get your attention and make you afraid of things outside of Earth. But it's only things from Earth, meaning humans, that you need to be afraid of. And the fact that I'm giving you that and you want to argue with me about it is concerning to me. Because the people who are going to be in trouble are the people who aren't willing to face their own fears and their own unconscious, and that makes them vulnerable to be seduced, manipulated, and hypnotized and programmed. The guy that I talked about, whose name I won't mention, who the most famous writer and a screenwriter, the most famous abductee in history. Unfortunately, that man has now been so fully MK Ultra'd and programmed that humans have implanted him with AI that he can see in his brain that's completely, totally seduced him into believing he's talking to benevolent extraterrestrials, and he's not. He's been programmed. He's been completely overtaken. This same guy, by the way, a couple of years back, I watched one of his podcasts. Again, I used to follow this guy. I read his books years ago before I even had my experiences. But when I saw this podcast, I watched it because the question he had is, what is the deep state? And I went, oh, he's gonna reveal something. And instead, he went on to say that the deep state was God. This is where it's headed. This is where the mind control of the dark humans, which includes AI, where they're going is they are going to want you to conflate the deep state with spirituality. That's what's coming. You should be afraid of that. All right, that's it, my friends. And if you want to have actual experiences with light beings, actual experiences, you don't need anything. You don't need any tool. You don't need any program. You don't need AI. You don't need anything. You just need your own soul and your intention. That is the most powerful thing. The idea that aliens have to, I'll shut up with this, but I heard a guy was, supposedly going to reveal what's really going on. And what he was saying was that all the orbs in the sky is actually extraterrestrials making it so that the government has to acknowledge them and communicate with them. And that's not how it's going to happen. Extraterrestrials have zero interest in governments. They don't care. They know that governments are made up arbitrary nonsense. They're not real. They're just something we believe are real and we choose to accept that are real. They're not real. Extraterrestrials are not, they don't need to go through our government for there to be an awakening and for there to be open contact. Open contact is already here if you want it. So simply make the decision. You can go follow Dr. Stephen Greer's protocols, CE5 protocols. You can do the interdimensional meditations. You will have direct access to light beings. You want to have that experience. You want to know what they are instead of taking my word for it. I don't want you to take my word for it. I've never wanted you to take my word for anything. I want you to do what I do so you can have the experiences that I have. So if you're on this channel and all you've done is watch some videos and you haven't done the things that I teach, stop wasting your time. Either go to other channels where you can just sit around and stay in your head and waste your time, or do the practices that I give. You're having challenges with that? Then become an apprentice. I will walk you through it. I will help you. It's time to get up off your ass. It's time to get out of the fear. We don't have any more time. It's time to get out of the self-sabotage. We don't have any more time. I'm here to help if you want it. All right, so you know the drill. You can go to thunderwizard.com. You can go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe. You can get my books. If you want to know, people who say they're on my channel, been on my channel for years, and they're saying things about extraterrestrials, and it's obvious to me they haven't read my books. You want to know what ETs really are? Read my books. Not because it's my opinion, but it's because of my experience. You don't want to accept my experience, I can't do anything about that. Stop screwing around. Take advantage of the things that I make available to you. Please. Please. For your sake. Not just for the survival of my channel. For your sake. So go to thunderwizard.com, subscribe. You can support me directly, support.thunderwizard.com. All right, so I don't know what we're going to do tonight. We may do the meditation tonight. The meditations have been kicking my ass. So I'm debating whether or not I'm going to just do a live question and answer or if I'm going to do a live meditation. But we will have something. We will have some live stream tonight at 8:30 Eastern time. All right, that's it, my friends. I love you. I know I've been, cranky, but it's coming from a place of love. I hope you can hear that. And I hope you're willing to get off the fence. And if you want my help, I can help you. All right? Thank you, my friends. If you want to support this video, go down and click the $sign. Those are all the ways that you can support the channel. I'll see you guys all very soon. Please take very good care of yourselves.